Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, my name is Sunil Kant, and I am hosting today's session, which is the third session in a series of three-session visioning for the Bangalore station. Uh, uh, Before I introduce the speaker, the speaker said that I should tell something about myself and why I am doing that. So, I'll be just say one sentence that I've been in the city since 1991, and as a part of my second career, which happens to be in a family run work, I am exposed to some of the activities in the city, and I was exposed to the potential happenings in the Bangalore station. I am an IT professional and now into infrastructure designs, as I said, as a part of a family firm. And in IT firm, I work in companies like Wipro and Mindtree. So that having said, let me quickly get on to the introduction of our fabulous speaker for today evening for the session Vision Insight. So architect Naresh V Narasimhan, besides being leading the one of the largest and the reputed architecture firm in Bangalore, has the well-being of Bangalore in his heart. His most recognizable pro bono work is the Church Street remodeling. He is part of many committees, proactively involved with city planning and design to films involved with city plan. His interest ranges from urban planning and design to films and theater along with business strategy. As an extension to his various interests, his firm runs Mod Institute as its CSR arm. Mod Institute is an interdisciplinary urban action and research think tank. Now, many of you attended our previous session, which was session 2, where by Speaker T. Raghunandan, a retired IS officer and a railway aficionado, who's also here with us today. In the previous session, you heard about how a station can be a place of anticipation, a place to travel, a place to arrive. With Naresh, let's explore if the station can be a destination, and in being so, be designed to enhance the user experience. With that, over to you, Naresh.
Good afternoon, everybody. This has been an interesting week after I spoke to Sunil exactly 1 week ago. And I wasn't even aware that a huge development of the redevelopment of Bangalore city was in progress. I had heard something about it a year or two ago, but I wasn't sure what was the status of it. Sunil has invited me to talk about what is the relationship of the station to Bangalore and vice versa. And today I will share my screen now and we will walk through a short presentation on what we have been able to put together thus far. The title of this talk is called Destination, and the station is highlighted because I believe that railway stations, as they were imagined earlier as a place of arrival and departure, are now rapidly changing into a new modern definition where the station itself becomes a destination, and the word is fortunately encapsulated in the word destination itself. And this is a presentation on how to make the Bangalore City railway station and possibly other railway stations in Bangalore much more than a place of arrival and departure, but also a place of meeting, of celebration, of joy, and of heritage and nostalgia also. So for those of you who, many of you in the audience already know this, what about the story of Bangalore's evolution? For those who don't, here are a few slides which just show what is the history of Bangalore, right? So this is the oldest known map of Bangalore. It is digitally enhanced by us, showing that the center, if you can see my mouse, that is the old city of Bangalore. The railway station is approximately here at the northern edge. You'll see it later. This is the old stone fort, and these are the 7 towers of Kempegoda. Only 4 exist today. And you'll notice that these green lines are actually the drainage channels. Bangalore is the largest city in the world not situated next to a running water source, right? It is not next to no lake, next to no river, next to no sea, and next to no mountain. It's actually on top of a plateau, and the land slopes away on all sides. And as a defense mechanism for Bangalore, and also as a method of water supply, the ancient planners from thousands of years ago have created this system of overflowing tanks, which create marshes in between, which allows a double purpose. It supplies water to the local community as well as acts as a military barrier, because those days on the machine cannon would only come pulled by oxen, and they cannot go through a swamp. One of the ways the British took over Bangalore is by the invention of pontoon boats, where they came from the north, crossing these swamps using pontoon bridges, and then came and invaded the north of Bangalore. And you'll see that this lake system is still active. Many of these lakes have disappeared now, but you'll see some of them. This is the lake where my mouse is actually Kantirava Stadium, and the lake where my mouse is now Alsur Lake. And you can see the Alsurta Lake Tower still sitting there, and so on and so forth. So it is a double purpose, clever tank civilization, which is very unusual in the history of city planning in the world. This is one of the lakes commissioned in one of the ancient photographs, more than 100 years old, Alsur Lake. All of us know this. And this is actually called a lake, but they're actually all man-made tanks. There is no natural lake in Bangalore. All of them are made by human beings by creating a bund. That is why all over the city you will find Tank Bund Road, this Bund Road, and so on, which are actually earthen bunds in shallow areas designed to hold water as it drains away. And as it fills up, there's a sluice gate and it flows to the next tank. Right? And Bangalore is also, of course, known as the Garden City. This is a little digitally enhanced image, but still shows you this is from the top of Marriott Hotel. And you can see the view of the Cubbon Park, which is like the breathing lung of Bangalore. And far away in the distance, you can see City Railway Station somewhere there. The city is a palimpsest. A palimpsest is an English word which means like a scroll on which you write over and over again, because the different layers of the city are expressed as the time passes. And this is a photograph of the flower market in City Market. Every month, the colors change, because Bangalore is also a city of horticulture, and the flowers come in different seasons. And you'll always find that this is an ever-changing beautiful sight every day morning. Every day this happens inside the City Market in Bangalore. But Bangalore is also a city where the past is now meeting the future head on, and it's also the city of innovation. It is now moving to create an ecosystem of It started as an IT outsourcing hub, but I think now we have moved on, and now I understand from recent statistics, 403 of the world's Fortune 500 companies have an operation in Bangalore. I believe that it's a de rigueur in every corporate statement abroad that they have to show that they have a outfit in Bangalore today. It has become what I call the critical perfect storm, or the critical mass of technology talent anywhere in the world today. And you can actually pull off anything from automotive technology to, I don't know, any possible artificial intelligence to anything. And all the smart ideas which are driving Bangalore, India today, originate in Bangalore, whether it be, it's a controversial thing, whether it's Aadhaar or whether it is the idea of the national education policy, which is going to transform Bangalore. Everything originates among intellectuals in this city. At the same time, the one aspect which has not kept pace with all this kind of virtual innovation and technology and management innovation is the fractured vision of the city. The sense that we have not really had a planning rigor, and we see the center picture, which makes us famous in the New York Times every now and then, where we have the dubious distinction of a lake which catches fire regularly. At the same time, we have the best airport probably in India, and probably in Asia. I would rate Bangalore airport as extraordinarily well done. Plus, we have modern buildings. We have coming flyover. There is a huge civic awareness about the need to preserve our lakes and our old neighborhoods and our green spaces. But it's not a coherent vision. Coming to the history of the railways in Bangalore, the Bangalore Railway started as the Southern Indian Railway Company, and Sir Mark Cubbon, after whom Cubbon Park is now called Sri Jayachamarajendra Botanical Garden, but it was originally created named in honor of Mark Cubbon by his commissioner Louis Bentham Boring, who actually created this park. And this is the most oldest photograph of City Railway Station I could find. And Raghunandan, you would be pleased to know that I found your finial and your gable, the picture of the finial and the gable, which is here. This is actually a clever design because when it rains, it doesn't fall on the platform. It actually doesn't. Most stations are designed nowadays with the roof going over the train, but in here, it stopped before the platform edge and it would actually be carried away and down through these pipes. Water would be taken out. You can still see it in this condition. This roof, unfortunately, has been replaced by tin sheets, and this actually exists as is now. This is also one of the oldest steam locomotives. Mr. Raghunandan will be able to throw light on what model it is. I don't know which model it is, but it looks like a very old photograph of Bangalore somewhere in the mid 1800s. Right? And this was set up in 1868. This is what the station looks like now. I actually used to go and drink tea in that stall whenever I used to go catch a train to Hampi when I was a little younger. And the building is still in good shape. It needs to be restored and brought back to life, and the tiles replaced and the old look brought back. There's nothing wrong with the structure even today after more than 150 years or so, 140 years or old building this is, right in the heart under our nose. This is another unusual thing. I couldn't find, there is these turntables both in the city and cantonment stations, but this is from Tambaram. When the train had to be turned around, it actually used to be parked on this turntable and it would make a nice exhibit even now when we talk about the new station. It would be used, it used to be manually. You can see the men moving the gimbal around and turning the turntable so that the engine can face the other direction. Okay, from a mapping perspective, this is how the started. It was originally, there was a big cotton growing belt and the cotton had to be brought into the mills. And this is one of the economic reasons for the railways to be started. The original line was actually from Madras to Calicut all along the Kaveri cotton belt, where it used to be grown a lot. You see that Mysore still does not have a connection. And there was a branch line given into Bangalore. That was the original idea. And you can see these dotted lines going towards Guntakal and towards North India on this side, on the north of the map. This is one of the oldest maps of Bangalore, 1885. You can see that the station has already been formed and the platform number 8 and 9 are already operational. The Mysore line is just being set up going southwest. And now the northern line is also visible going to Bombay. And this going towards the south-northeast is the cantonment the line going to Chennai. And you see that the huge tank in front of the, this was the water supply for the old city of Bangalore, which is the pink here. This is the old fort. And you'll see that the old city of Bangalore, already Gubbi Totadappa Road is formed. There is a garden in front of the railway station. And you can see that the infrastructure is forming at that time. Then what happens is the Mysore line gets started in 1893. You can see the extension coming down to Mysore here, and the rest of the lines, the Bangalore-Guntakal line is being laid as at that time. And you also see that the network of railways is at fast being established. Now, this is the map in 1894. You see that the building is already in, the railway station is firmly established. The first railway station actually was cantonment. The line was extended to the city station. And this is how the line is going through the city. I always wondered why there is no direct southern line, Bangalore from here going towards Salem and Krishnagiri and so on and down to South India. But I don't know why that was never done at that time. Now you see in 1909, the network is almost complete. You can see that the entire Bangalore, Mysore, Calicut lines are now in place. The Bangalore line goes through the Palakkad Gap, which is here. The Palakkad Gap, and then goes on the coast all the way up to Mangalore, servicing Kerala, and also a branch line going down to Cochin. Let's come to what the station means to the city. Just 1 second. Yeah. Right. This was cantonment station operation started in 1864. This was how cantonment looked those days. This is the original site of the This was the new market, and in front of this, Russell Market was built in this position. And you see this broad road, St. Mary's Basilica, and you see this little chapel which doesn't exist anymore. And you see this broad road going towards MG Road, and that little smudge there is St. Andrew's Church. And that is the masjid, which is there on Old Poorhouse Road. And this road actually goes and stops at the Boring Hospital, because Boring Hospital was built in that road. That connection, this broad avenue going towards MG Road, was for some reason cut off. Fundamentally, the railways, though we tend to praise the British a lot for bringing railways to India, they had a very simple mercantile and military reason. And it was mainly, after 1857, when they found, after the First War of Indian Independence, as we call it, or the Sepoy Mutiny, as the British call it, they found that the fastest way to move military troops was using the train, right? And there's one of the main reasons railways was given a huge push in India. And they also found a way to remove agricultural produce and transport it to the mills in Lancaster and the cotton belt and many other indigo and opium and so on. And the railways, if you find, follow these two reasons. Strategic, the railway line planning was due to strategic military reason, as well as moving goods from the hinterland into the ports for export and processing by the foreign mills. But it was a big turning point for Bangalore city, not only in Bangalore, for every city, but Bangalore, what happens was, it was the first wave of migration happened. And these were all, one of the first waves of migration that happened is a lot of pottery. There was a big lack of potters in this area. And a lot of Kumbaras, that caste of potters were brought in. And just north of Cantonment Station, you will find the establishment of Pottery Town at that time. It also brought in the cotton spinning mills, where the employment you can see. And curiously, you see only women operating these mills. Maybe they were more dexterous and more able to handle spinning at that time. It was one of the earliest mills in Bangalore, the TR mills in Chamarajpet, which is not functioning today, but the sheds are still there. It was also a very key thing in 1876, 1878, when around the time of when the Maharaja was about to be given back the process of handing back the administration of Bangalore from the British to the Maharaja, there was this devastating famine, and all the relief material was only possible from Chennai, and at that time because of the railway connection at that time. The other way around, what does the city mean to the station? If you see, this is the current map of Bangalore, and you'll see that in this map, you see this little shape that looks like a head of a cow, which you can see in the original map of Bangalore, which I showed right in the beginning. And you'll see that actually it is the dead center and the heart of the city is the railway station. Exactly in the center of the old Bangalore city. And to give you some orientation, this is the city market. This is where my mouse is. And the red dot, of course, is the station. And in 2016, it was renamed as Krantivira Sangoli Rayana Station. And Krantivira, many people do not know the history of Sangoli Rayana, was a Shetsa Nadi. And he was a ruler and a big warrior by Rani Chennamma. In the first war of independence, he fought the East India Company and executed a lot of defeats on them. And he was captured by treachery, and he was actually executed by hanging. And is a true warrior of Karnataka who first resisted the British occupation. Okay, let's come to the station itself. Okay, that is the historical component of it. Now let's talk about what to do with the station. And now to understand the station, we cannot look at the Bangalore City Railway Station as a real estate project. You have to first understand from the outside in what is the network that the station is at the center of. You see the center of the station, the yellow dots are the 3 substations of Bangalore. It's again strange to me why there is no station to the south of Bangalore. There was never a line on this Hosur Road, Hosur orientation. There should have been a big terminal somewhere here. It was never done. Maybe it's time for the railways to look at a southern connection to Bangalore directly rather than going east and then turning around. The line goes like that and then comes around like that for some reason. There's no reason why it cannot be a straight line. And this is the network now. We have 118 Nama metro stations almost functional. 81 suburban rail stations are planned and 4 main stations are planned. This is the map with the overlay of all of the network, right? And if you zoom into this map, close to, I'll show the statistics later. It is almost 2.5 times what the airport handles every day in terms of passengers, and curiously not given as much attention. This is the station under construction. Actually, I quite like this building, simple, modernist, 1968 architecture with, these are jalis which allow, it has been blocked now, but these are jalis which allow air circulation in the concourse. And through it would be a ventilated station. The administrative offices and the control rooms are on top, and this iconic bell tower, which everybody remembers, and the clock. And it had a beautiful garden in front, which no longer exists and has been made into a parking lot. And this is what it looks like today. Mr. Raghunandan again will object to the railway engine being painted in strange colors. This was not the original color, I know, but we'll see what we can do about that later on. And this is what it looks like. It's still in very good shape. Probably needs a bit of an upgrade in terms of glass and so on, but there's nothing wrong with this building. And I feel it should be kept as a reminder of the history of this city's development. Now, if you see it in plan, this is the road network, and what we have to understand here is that this is not just a railway station. It also has a bus stand, and it also has a metro station, and it also has an interstate bus stand. It has a local bus terminus and also an interstate bus terminus. Right now, the access into the station is actually here. There is a new access at number 4, which has not been operationalized. I do not know why not. There is a new access also built a few years ago at 2, which is a direct access from the north of the station. Curiously, one of the densest parts of Bangalore in terms of population is the west and to the south, and it has no access to the station at all. It's completely blocked off. You have to be able to come to Gubbi Totadappa Road, or from this to be able to enter the station at 1 or 2. There should be logically access from the back, which let's see how we can make that happen. And you'll see that the number of tracks have this what my arrow is where the first tracks were laid, and the heritage station is here. And you'll now see that the whole thing is expanded, and you'll see these little green lines, and this red line are the pedestrian overpasses. This is how it looks. We just colored it to show that there's an underground metro. The purple line and the green line is growing right there. The yellow is the pedestrian overpasses which have been built. Now, from the KSR station, there is a pedestrian overpass available to enter from the south, but it also needs a vehicular access, which has not been done till now, which has to be corrected as we correct it. A lot of artifacts from the old, there are still some railway quarters and all that here. This huge thing in the back is the railway colony here, which is actually not fully utilized in terms of real estate completely. It should also be looked into. And you'll also find that there are smaller pockets of land all around it which has not been fully utilized. There has been a lot of coverage in the press about this station and how to think about how to integrate all these three or four major transportation hubs into a seamless experience. Still, it's very fractured, and still I'll explain what needs to be done. Right? So this is the aerial view, what you see. This is the metro hub, Kempegoda station. And in front of it is the KSRTC interstate bus terminus. This is the Bangalore city bus stand. And in the distance, you can see the railway station in the back. Now, all this looks a little chaotic still. And this is the pedestrian overpass taking you to the railway station, which was commissioned a little while ago. And the bus stand is always full of buses, and it's quite a busy area. And you'll also find informal shopping in the subway. There is a subway connecting to the station under Gubbi Totadappa Road. and you will find that actually the people within the yellow line, it's actually allowed as it's a good thing also. Many people come in there, and it's a small shopping experience which disappears every night. Gubbi Totadappa Road itself is in bad condition and not at all organized in terms of accessibility, and you can see the condition of it right here. Right on top of all this, now there is a fourth layer which is going to come, which is the suburban rail, which are now 6 lines are proposed, and you will find that there is this station again is sitting right in the middle of 3 junctions. 3 major lines are taking off from the railway station, and this is proposed right in the middle of the railway station, as we understand. Right, this is how it looks. You can see how many lines are converging at the KSR junction. And there have been articles in the press for the past few years saying that station now has no place to expand. A lot of, we are not able to increase the tracking. We are not able to fully utilize even after moving the Tipu Armory. And now it apparently is operational. And then now still the station needs to be, we have to look at it in a much more holistic manner. Right? And these are all articles which are, a lot of medical stores are not available, ATMs are not available. A lot of issues are there still, and accessibility to senior citizens and differently able is still a bit of a mess. Okay, now what can we do about this from a positive point of view? This is the historical story of the station, how it developed. Originally, there was only a station here in the back where it says 1. There was a small ticketing building and there was an overpass connecting to it, curiously still there. Okay, and the yellow boundary that you see in the back of it and in the front of it are the original railway quarters. The back of it is still the railway quarters. The front has been mostly demolished and made into railway offices. You can see that the Dharmapudi tank has no more water in it in 1948. It has been drained completely. And it has been also a new road has been introduced in the middle. And you will see in 1969, at the new station has been constructed. A plaza has been formed. The old Gubbi Totadappa Choultry is still there. And there is one footbridge. That footbridge still connects. That was the only connection to the rear platforms. And you can see it being formed here. The railway quarters all seem to be in place completely. In 1983, the number of stations are formed. Now you find that the Bangalore bus station, the KSRTC bus station has come. The Bangalore bus station is still under construction. And you can see the city completely formed around it. All the developments are still completely done. The yellow boundary is also railways property, but it belongs to another arm of the railways, not the station arm. Now, this is what it looks like now. And you will see that there is a new metro entries, and the number of lines and the buildings which are shown in red are now part of the current. The back entry is also shown here. Right? So around this now, a lot of real estate has been opened up to the west of the station. There are many apartments, there are many malls, and Minerva Mills is also being redeveloped now. Not too much development on the other side, still very traditional. Subedar Chatram Road, of course, used to be a lot of theaters, but that is also changing rapidly. This is what it looks like from a planning perspective. This is the development plan of Bangalore. The large gray bit you see is reserved for traffic and transportation, except for that little pocket which belongs to the Totadappa Choultry people. And you'll see that the rear of it is shown as residential, but Minerva Mills is now commercial. And this is the Kempegoda Road area, which is also fully commercial. This is the boundary of the old city, which is also completely commercial. And this little garden here is Chikka Lalbagh, which is still a beautiful little green pocket right in the middle. I won't read all these things, but basically there has been a planning scheme there called area improvement schemes and utility scheme. But unfortunately, this has remained on paper, though this has been identified. And unfortunately, none of it is implemented yet. And you'll find now, when we do a project like this, it is very important not to look at only the railway station in isolation, Now, you have to look at the entire impact area. What are the adjacent uses? How can we improve connectivity and so on? Right. So what will happen is there is a huge pocket behind the station, which is a railway colony, which probably is not well utilized in terms of FSI, considering now it is in the middle of the city. It's a candidate for redevelopment into, and also to be able to, it's big enough to be made into a small township itself, maybe on a public-private model, and also make sure that the railway people who work for the railways have modern housing in which they are comfortable. The area in front belongs to the Karnataka Bangalore city, various arms of the city, partly to the metro, partly to the KSRTC, and partly to the BMTC. This has to be also thought through how to clean up that experience so that it becomes. See, we need to benchmark like the Bangalore airport. We have to say that this will become better than the Bangalore airport and becomes again a place where the common man, and it's an inclusive space. It's not an excluded space, and it's also a place where new uses, and from a station it becomes a destination. For this, you need an integrated mobility master plan and also an integrated idea of how to redevelop this property and how to integrate it correctly with the urban fabric around it. Right? So how does Bangalore exercise its mobility choices? If you notice, Bangalore has the worst share of rail mobility among every metro in India. In Bombay, it is 42%, the share of railway mobility in terms of overall mobility. Bangalore has 1.2 crore cars, and the 20 lakh cars have been added in last 1 year because of the lockdown. 20 lakh private vehicles, not cars, extra. That means the population of Bangalore is 1:1 in terms of private vehicles and the actual people. And in developed cities like Berlin and Tokyo and all that, it's 1:40, 1:50. In Bombay, has only 40 lakh vehicles and it's congested. Bangalore has 1.2 crore in comparison. So it is clearly, it's a no-brainer to say that railway mobility in Bangalore has to be the top priority in mobility, all kinds of railway, whether it's metro, it's suburban, it's a regular train, also maybe monorail, whatever it is. That is the fastest and the best way of moving people. Hopefully, with this COVID thing waning off and life coming back to normal, I just read today that the Spanish flu took 2.5 years, from 1919 to 1921, to go away. Maybe we have to wait another year, but then it's a very good time to start thinking about how once this pandemic is over, we bring the focus back on mass transit in a comfortable way. Bangalore has a very strong history of citizen participation. All of you know about the elevated corridor protest, and before that, the steel flyover protest. Band-aid solutions. We also are very proud of our existing heritage, and we want to show and showcase this for future generations. And there has also been a very strong movement called Bangalore Chikubuku Beku, which is asking for suburban train. And one of the reasons why we have a clear plan, a 15,000 crore plan to implement a suburban, one of the key stimulants was this campaign. So what do Bangaloreans really care about? We ran a dipstick survey across the city among all age groups. And this is what they say. People don't come to Bangalore because it's great weather or it has great pubs. It has great employment opportunity, and people will vote with their feet when it comes to employment. But once you are here and you have got a job, what will you do? You need to be able to buy a home. You should be able to go to a public space where there is no pressure to buy anything, as opposed to going to a mall. We have to have a great public transport system. And the environment, the air quality must become, tomorrow is World Environment Day. And I think it's great that we are talking today. And air quality in Bangalore is now 2.5. Today morning I saw it. It's extraordinarily good air quality, and it will go much beyond. The moment the lockdown goes, it will go back to horrible levels. But, and the funny thing is, we can't go out for a walk unless wearing a double mask. It's the irony of sorts that, we have a best air quality probably in the world for a city of this. What is the human connect to Bangalore station? right? Or the railways in general, right? These are lovely little cartoons we found on the internet. And, all the things that we remember as children, people crowding in a berth, wandering at a coolie, looking for platform number whenever the signage is never clear. Finally, when you find your name on the passage, you find a big thrill, and the fun of eating in a train, whether it's budgies or, I've always used to eat that bread with palya in the middle, the palya bun. And that was reserved for a train. Nowadays, it's got upgraded to more corporate Tata chai and fancy samosas. And whizzing station after station, catching their names in a flash, counting the tunnels. Mr. Raghunandan was on the call with us. I took the liberty of sharing some of the images he shared a little ago. He's a great enthusiast, and he has taken 8 years almost to build a precise scale model of one of the earliest locomotives used in India, made in cardboard. Stuff like this should not be kept in a private home. It should be exhibited in a heritage component of the museum. The Bangalore railway station has a heritage building, and I suggest that it be converted into a railway heritage museum where people can see models and spend some time in the station. See, once the station, as opposed to a railway as an airport, people go to an airport and then sit in a waiting hall, and when the flight is announced, they go and board the plane. But in a railway, it's exactly different. They go and sit on the platform and wait till the train comes. Whether we need to rethink that, and whether the waiting areas in a train station should become like many trains. I've seen Kowloon station in Hong Kong, where it's like an airport. You sit in a place, when your train is announced, you go to the platform and get in. So the platform becomes a place where you just go and get in. It's not a social space. But at the same time, there is some fun to be had in a social space. You have to see how a hybrid model works for how going ahead. The advantage of the airport model is they're able to move lots of people very quickly. Whereas in a train station, there is a limitation because of the platform being used as a social space also. Some more details, it's like exactly done how it looked, including I don't know whether it moves, but every single part has been carefully crafted with cardboard and with metal screws and correctly with rivets, so that it shows this is not welded at all, these kind of locomotives. And you can see the level of detail he has gone into. There are many more enthusiasts in Bangalore, in India. Vikas Singh has documented this, or many of you would have seen this kind of trains. And we should keep all these things as part of our heritage. The train, of course, has a huge connection with Bollywood and our memory of arriving and departure. And it's fascinating to see how many places it has been used as there is a fantastic movie called The Train, and I suggest all of you watch it, which understands the metaphorical idea of the train as well as its practical uses. Some case studies from abroad. This is King's Cross in London, where they have retained as the original, the component, and also, but thought of it as a integrated hub. And it's beautifully done with a mixed-use development by including offices, housing, shopping, public spaces. Everything is there built into this hub, and it's a seamless place. And we should have a vision like this for Bangalore. There are three types of things. One has a commercial impact, one has an environmental impact, and a social impact. And we have to understand the principles of connectivity and permeability are most important, as much as a network of public open spaces. This is Rotterdam Central. This is a fantastic station which is completely transparent. You can walk through the station to the other side to the canal, and it's got everything built into it. Again, commercial, cultural, social. All these three are important when you design a station. This is Tokyo in Japan. It's a commercial office building on top, and it's also a shopping center and a very well integrated hub right in the heart of course, all the lines are underground. There are no lines above ground at all. This is Atocha in Madrid, where a garden has been brought in. This is also a great idea for Bangalore. Part of the station, the garden city has to be reflected in the history of the station. and how you can see how well they have preserved the traditional architecture. It's a tropical garden, so the oldest part of the station, right? And it was increased by 4 times the original capacity, and 16 million passengers go through the station every year, but without destroying the heritage component of it. So I won't read all this out, but this gives you what happens when each of this, how big it is, what kind of, how it connects with the city and so on. In India, we have had some examples, but mostly focused only on commercial and residential development. This is Seawoods, recently inaugurated in Bombay. This was a little older one by Vashi, and this looks very boxy. But again, this is all office buildings, which was integrated into the railway station itself. So we have to now think, what can we do to make city railway station more than a station? Let us understand, a railway station is a city of a hallmark of city identity. Just yesterday, 6 tenders have been received, I believe, by the railways to develop Victoria Terminus. Beautiful example of Indo-Gothic architecture. Also very well illuminated at night and becomes a landmark. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is the traditional gate into the entrance of Tokyo Station, Kanazawa. And this is the traditional gate from a Japanese gate to showcase their history. This is again a fantastic new development which I have visited in Kowloon. All the trains from China come and enter into this station, and it's completely integrated into the city fabric with food, with people go there as a cultural destination, much also not just to catch a train. And it also has one of the 3 hectares of green plaza integrated into it. It also becomes a garden. This is Zurich main station, where artwork is encouraged, and it's also considered as one of the most beautiful stations ever built. And in London, of course, from the Harry Potter, they have even made a little, there was supposed to be a platform 9 3/4. They've actually made a little sculpture there showing a truck going into the wall. And you're supposed to do that, and you're going to enter into plan 9 3/4. Grand Central Grand Central Station also has integrated food and dining. It looks like any modern airport or shopping area. An aquarium has been brought into a station, also a great idea, because people wait in stations for a long time. You should give them something to do. In Tokyo, they have work booths where you can even hire a small office and sit and work in the station itself. No need to go anywhere else. Holland is full of such integrated office buildings along with train stations. Like what they call flexi, the station. In London, every station has a built-in workspace also. So I will end here by saying that the station is not making a station, it is making the city too. It should be a reflection of the city and its aspirations. It should fulfill a need and as well integrate. You should be future-proof. It should be a space for community, not just for travelers. It should be able to self-sustain. And finally, it should move beyond the function of moving people. And if you can really pull this off, you should bring back the beating heart of Bangalore to where it was. Thank you very much. And please feel free to use my tweet address to communicate with me. And thank you very much once again, Sunil, for this opportunity. I think I overshot by about 8 minutes from what I had planned. I'll stop the share here, and we're open for questions. Thank you very much.